The fix is in. The Sports Fix.
Sports Fix listeners, don't wait all day or all week to get in on the fun. The party doesn't stop when we go off the air all week long. The Sports Fix social media sites are your one-stop shop for all things Cleveland sports. Jump over to Facebook.com/TheSportsFix, Facebook.com/TheSportsFix, and become a fan today because we love fans and they create some of the best sports talk in town, Daddy. You'll enjoy talking to your fellow Cleveland sports fans on the Sports Fix fan page. And if Twitter's your thing, well, you know how we do it. Tweet with us at TheSportsFixCLE. It's that simple.
Twitter.com/TheSportsFixCLE, baby.
Chat live with the crew during all your favorite Cleveland sports events, tickets and contests and trivia and so much more. Get with us today, The Sports Fix on social media, Facebook.com/TheSportsFix. Tweet with us at TheSportsFixCLE. Join the Sports Fix on Facebook and Twitter today.
This is Greg Pruitt, formerly of the Cleveland Browns, and you're listening to The Sports Fix.
Live in Ohio, it's time to get your fix. The Sports Fix.
With the first pick in the 2014 NBA Draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers select Andrew Wiggins from Toronto and the University of Kansas.
Probably the safest pick they could have made.
How do you plan on proving the critics wrong? How do you prove being the number one pick when you go into Cleveland?
Oh, just going in and creating an impact off the bat, just playing my game, have confidence in myself, because I got to believe in myself before anyone else can.
Welcome into the Sports Fix. We are live here on the sportsfix.net across all of the platforms. We'll go through that jive in just a minute. J-Rocc here with you, and as you heard last night, the Cavaliers decided not to. Sometimes teams, we call it outthinking or outsmarting themselves. I think last night the Cavaliers decided to go with what was on the table, and they took the draft pick that they had with number one. Another Canadian here is the Canadian invasion continues here for the Cavaliers. They're building a Mountie squad or something here, but I'll tell you what, they may be building a basketball squad too if the scouting reports on Andrew Wiggins over the next few years come to fruition, because he is now, as you just heard, the newest member of the Cleveland Cavaliers. And you know what? Kind of overlooked, as we'll talk about this here in a minute, with all the buzz on the number one pick, I really kind of like the second selection that the Cavaliers picked up as well, Joe Harris. I know a lot of people some people that don't study, the draft or know perhaps the depth of some of those guys. But when you see him, when you see what he does, his size, his length, his shooting, he comes off screens, all of that, it fits. I don't know what he's going to be in the NBA, but it fits exactly what David Griffin and David Blatt are trying to put together here with this team, no doubt. So I'm kind of intrigued by that pick as well, because I can definitely see him definitely getting the opportunity to impact. But Wiggins, the big impact player, the big shiny new present right now that everybody's looking at and taking out of the box for the first time here. And I'll tell you what, going to talk about all of that. Alonzo Gee on his way out, heading to Charlotte to become the rechristened Hornets down there. But we'll talk about all of that as the Cavs, their postseason has officially begun. They've got a coach. They've now made the draft selection, Andrew Wiggins. We'll talk about that. I mean, a huge ton of upside to any time you draft a 19-year-old in anything. I mean, that is one of the intriguing things about these kids. And I'll tell you what, I mean, there's a lot of, I've talked to some people that I really respect, and a lot of people say, hey, Jabari Parker may have been a better pick this season, but I'm telling you, Wiggins is the way. And I don't know, I've had some people call him, in a upgraded version of a Ben McLemore. So we'll see what his ceiling is, but a lot of potential. Go check out, the Cavs actually put up a video now post-draft of his pre-draft workout that he had, which sold the team on drafting him. You guys go check that out, and you get a little bit of a taste for what he brings to the table. And then, of course, look at some of the stuff out there on YouTube of what he's done. But, now it's time to come to the NBA and see. But it's a very intriguing piece to add to the young athletes that the Cavs have. And what's really going to be interesting now is how they follow up on this and where they go in free agency with things, because as you can tell, the makeup of this roster is very much, I think, still up in the air. I think there's still a lot of things left to be done free agent wise. I still feel that there's a trade somewhere in here as well. Although, hey, I could see a scenario where these guys, Dion, Kyrie, Wiggins, you get a rotation of a couple of these guys that may be able to play well together. We'll have to see. We're talking about all of that today. We've got a ton of people on. Matter of fact, we're going to open up the phone lines here. You've probably got one shot at the phones early, and then we will have a segment at the end of the show where we open up the phone lines, because we've got Jonathan Knight joining us today just a few minutes from now, the sports writer extraordinaire, my man. We'll talk to him about the draft, about the latest. Johnny Football made some people happy this morning with his comments. We'll talk about that coming out of the NFL Rookie Symposium there. He ain't changing for nobody. And we'll talk Indians here as well with Jonathan Knight. After Jonathan Knight, we've got Mike Brandenberry coming up from DidTheTribeWinLastNight.com. My man Mike in the house. We'll talk more about Justin Mastersons. We'll talk about the upcoming Seattle series and so much more with Mike Brandenberry. Doug Plagens. There's a beach party at the Q. We'll talk to my man Doug from the Cleveland Gladiators here. All of that coming your way and so much. Phone lines are open. Let's kick things off. Welcome into the Sports Fix, guys. J-Rocc with you on a Friday, a jam-packed Friday heading into the weekend of the Sports Fix. J-Rocc with you here. Jerry Myers welcoming each and every one of you. See how the phone lines are blowing up now. Welcoming each and every one of you guys in to the Sports Fix, whether you're listening live on thesportsfix.net, on TuneIn and Spreaker and Mixler and their applications worldwide, or perhaps you're listening on digital delay 24 hours a day on iHeartRadio, the world's largest internet radio provider, on iTunes, on Stitcher Radio and SoundCloud and CarPlay and all of the other podcast formats. Thank you guys for joining us. As I say all the time, I want you to be a part of the show. I'm going to go to the phones here momentarily. 216-539-7535, the number to call. If you can't get through, hit us up on Facebook and Twitter now. Get that conversation fired up. Facebook.com/thesportsfix. Tweet with us at the SportsFix CLE. Email us, thesportsfix@AOL.com. And as I said, some of you listening right now on the sportsfix.net, welcome in you guys as well. And remember that the one-stop shop for replays and social media and everything right there, thesportsfix.net. We're going to roll right into it. Talking Cavs draft here in the first segment. Jonathan Knight with us just about, 6 minutes from now. But I'm going to give you the first crack real quick before the break. Caller, you get the first take on the Sports Fix. Welcome into the show.
Hey, good afternoon there, Big Daddy.
Hey, how's it going?
All right, man. How about yourself? How's the weather out there?
I'm fantastic. I'm feeling good. I like what the Cavaliers did last night with both of their draft picks, and I'm feeling good today, man.
Oh, J-Rocc, your Cavs look good. Look good. Yeah, we had talked about that a little bit yesterday. I kind of figured they were going to go for Wig. Very good.
Well,
very good. Solid first-round pick for you guys.
I think so, too. I think that this one, this is a guy that I think he'll play like a number one draft pick right off the bat. I think that he'll definitely step right in, and athletically, he can play in the NBA right now. So it's intriguing. I want to see, I love seeing these kids because it's really a crapshoot. You never know which ones pan out and which ones don't, but a lot of people put a high report card and a high ceiling on what Andrew Wiggins can do. So we'll see. Definitely the popular selection amongst most circles, and we'll see. I guess next year the big watch will be Parker and Wiggins and how each one does in their respective rookie seasons.
Yes, and I'm glad you didn't go the way of Joel Embiid. I'm glad you guys stayed away just in case that that injury to the leg plagues him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
any little foot injury is could be a drastic thing for a young basketball player.
Well, the injury wouldn't have bothered me, except he's a center and he's a big guy. Because other than that, I mean, guys have had that. He had the same broken foot that Michael Jordan had in his rookie season, and obviously, as we know, he went on to play a little bit more basketball. But but it is a different animal too when you're talking about a big guy and a guy who had other injury issues too. It wasn't just one thing in a bubble there. Because I'll tell you what, that was the way the Cavs were leaning before they found out about the foot injury. I can tell you that had that not came up, Joel Embiid would be your Cavalier right now. I'm almost sure of it.
Yeah, you're probably right. You are probably right, because you definitely do need a good center out there.
I know sure. Philly is going through what we went through with these terrible 15, 17-win seasons. But, man, if you watch what they've done, the way they're picking up these things that are not going to help them now, but 2 or 3 years, in a couple of years here, they may at least have a defense. When you look, they have Embiid, they'll have Noel coming back. They've got the European guy that they picked up last night that they can't use for the next 2 years. Like, they've got a lot of
Dario Saric.
They've got a lot of assets like that aren't going to help them now, but maybe in a couple of years. So Philly could end up 3 years from now, Philly could end up being a strong squad, but who knows? I feel terrible for all fan bases, just like ours, that have to sit through 5 years of garbage just to get to a good period. But that's something that's broken with the NBA. But anyways, Big Bob, I've got a limited amount of time here in this first segment. So anything else whatever you want to say, the floor is yours.
All right, good luck, man, to those young Cleveland Indians. We got 3 with Seattle, 3 with the Dodgers out there on the coast. So I just hope we break even. I'd like to see 3-3.
That'd be nice.
4-2 maybe, but want to finish up strong. Want to finish this month of June strong, and I hope we have a good series with Seattle.
I know this is greedy, but I'm looking to take 3 of the last 4 in the month of June and finish with those 15 wins. So let's see if they can do it.
Got it. All right, Big Daddy.
Big Bob, my man, as always, thanks for the phone call.
You got it, Big Daddy. You guys have a great weekend out there, too, in Cleveland.
You too. We'll talk to you next week.
You got it, J-Rocc.
My man, Big Bob from Bristol, Connecticut. I know I missed a couple of your phone calls right there. I promise when I reopen the lines, you can jump back on. We're going to take a break because coming up next, I told you, loaded today, my man, the sports writer extraordinaire, Jonathan Knight, is on tap, and I'm even going to keep him a little bit longer. I know he was hitting quick last week. I think he was out in record time. I've been 11, 12 minutes he had to go, but we'll have my man Jonathan Knight with us today. We'll continue this conversation here. We'll talk about the latest with Johnny Football, with the Cleveland Indians. Oh, by the way, I wanted to mention while we're talking basketball, and since I mentioned Johnny Football, he was drafted, you guys heard the story, by the not just by the Browns and not just by the San Diego Padres, but by the Harlem Globetrotters. I woke up this morning to the notification on Twitter that Meadowlark Lemon, of the legend of the Harlem Globetrotters, now follows the Sports Fix on Twitter. I said, oh man, I grew up going to, I love the Globetrotters. I'm a big fan of the old school Globetrotters. I don't know if what they do now is as entertaining as what they did before, but I love the Trotters, man. And I was like, man, Jim Brown followed me, man. Now all my heroes, I don't want to say heroes because I've learned not to make athletes heroes, but I mean like my childhood, like the things I looked up and said, man, those are great people in sports. Yeah, that's a better way to put it, because I learned very quickly once I grew up that there aren't very many true heroes in the world of sports, and if they are, it doesn't have anything to do with what they do on the field. But Meadowlark Lemon, my man, follows the Sports Fix. So, all right, maybe we can, I'll put in a good word for you with old Johnny Football. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Johnny Knight, Johnny's sports writer, joins us next. My man, JK, in the house. When we come back, we're talking Cavs, we're talking Browns, we're talking Indians with the sports writer extraordinaire next. Don't go anywhere. We're just kicking off the Sports Fix.
When it comes to Cleveland sports, we go from
You can't touch this.
to
I can't watch this.
so listen to the fix. It's easier on the eyes.
Hey guys, before we go to the break, I want to talk to you a little bit again about our good friends at Harry Buffalo North Olmsted. Of course, you know during Brown season, we're there each and every week. What a fun time it was last year. But not just that, so many more reasons for you to check out the Harry Buffalo today. The UFC, the Ultimate Fighting Championships, some of the hottest fights in the world today. Each and every one of their huge events. Harry Buffalo is one of the few places in Northeast Ohio you can go there and watch each and every UFC fight at the Harry Buffalo. And let me tell you, I've been there. The people are out the door. They are to the rafters. It is one of the craziest environments for some UFC fights. Wing Mondays, they've got great deals on wings and drinks, and every day of the week there's a different special, a different deal. And don't forget the Bison Burger, the unbelievable. It is the combination of a fantastic burger and eating healthy combined into one unbelievable sandwich. You have got to get a Bison Burger while you're there. So whatever you're looking for, whatever day of the week, Monday through Friday, Saturday, Sundays, there's something just outside Great Northern Mall. Check them out today. Harry Buffalo, join the herd.
Hey everybody, this is Jerry the King Lawler from WWE, and you're listening to the Sports Fix.
Indians fans, GV Art and Design has unleashed their new baseball collection. This summer, you've got to have one of the hottest baseball shirts available. Indians themes, GV Art has them covered. Keep the Chief, one of the hottest sellers going today. GV Artwork, knocking it out of the park, teaming up with Michael Brantley to create a custom, bringing back an old classic. GV Artwork, bringing out the wild thing. Give them the heater design. The Cleveland That I Glove collection continues to grow. New designs for women and so much more. GVArtwork.com, bringing it full force to the plate for baseball season this year. Whether you check them out online, GVArtwork.com, use the sales code FIX10, FIX10 to save 10% on your total purchase. Whether you go to their store in Lakewood, check them out at the Cleveland Indians team shops around Progressive Field, and so much more. GV Art and Design. It's not just a shirt, it's a statement.
The Sports Fix is on iHeartRadio. Download the free iHeart app today. Subscribe to the show and get your fix.
Whether it's an oil change or a new set of tires, Quick Lane at Valley Ford Truck has you covered for your automotive car care needs. They're your neighborhood quick service experts. They also offer a low price tire guarantee. Choose from 13 brands, and if you find the same tires at a lower price within 30 days, Quick Lane at Valley Ford will refund the difference. They're open late Monday through Thursday until 9 p.m. and open early Saturday so you can check it off your to-do list and get on with your day. They also have a newly remodeled service lounge and additional service bay just for Quick Lane oil changes. Quick Lane at Valley Ford Truck is located at 5715 Canal Road, right under the 480 bridge in Valley View, just down the road from Independence. 5715 Canal Road, right under the 480 bridge in Valley View, just down the road from Independence. Come see why life is better in the Quick Lane. QuickLane.com/Valley Ford Truck. That's QuickLane.com/Valley Ford Truck.
You're listening to the Sports Fix.
Welcome back to the Sports Fix Live here on the sportsfix.net. J-Rocc back with you here. Welcome back in the show. Getting ready to go to the phone lines. My man, Jonathan Knight, joining us. So you guys cannot call right now, but you can definitely hit us up on Facebook and Twitter throughout the conversation. Facebook.com/The Sports Fix. Tweet with us at The Sports Fix CLE. We're talking, of course, Cavaliers draft, and going to get back into that a little bit more here. The latest with the Browns, Johnny Football, making fans out there in Berea today. We'll talk about all of that. Indians coming up. Mike Brandenberry still on tap. Doug Plagens. But coming up next, my man, Jonathan Knight, the sports writer extraordinaire. Matter of fact, let's do that now. Going to the phones. JK, how you doing, my man?
Hey, Jerry. Not too bad. Not too bad.
All right, man. Welcome in. It's a Friday. We're heading into a week. A lot going on here. I mean, obviously, Cavs draft last night. You know, might as well just go ahead and start with that. I don't know how, you feel either way about that, but just watching a team, I guess not, as we see Cleveland likes to do a lot, outsmart themselves sometimes with the draft, with the overthinking and the trading and all of that, the Cavaliers put aside any thoughts of, and they considered it, and they ended up going with the player that a lot of people thought they would take all along, as far as Andrew Wiggins at the top of the draft there. What do you think about just taking somebody and then who they took?
I suppose you're right. That's sort of we've become conditioned to really approach the draft very precariously with the Browns and Cavs, at least. The Indians, fortunately, sort of get to do this under the radar, so they don't get quite scrutinized quite as much. But with the Browns and Cavs, yes, there's we go into these things really with a certain amount of trepidation that just don't screw this up. You don't have to do anything spectacular, just don't screw it up. And I think that's what we saw yesterday. I think we saw the Cavs. I don't think anyone's really going to criticize them for what they did. I think there was some concern, maybe. I don't know if fear might be too strong of a word, but there was some thought that, they're going to do something crazy, particularly after what they did with their head coaching search. I think we were all sort of taken a little bit by surprise by that and thinking, oh, geez, if they're going to shuffle the deck and pull out a wild card for their head coach, what do they have in mind for the draft? But they kept it very close to the vest. They picked the player I think most people expected them to pick. And that being said, I don't know that there is excitement. There is more relief, I think. I think you get more of that sense that, okay, well, they didn't embarrass themselves. Everyone seems to give this a thumbs up. But there is not that, again, the third time in 4 years that the Cavs have landed the number one overall pick, and I don't know that anyone's really jumping up and down about this. That's sort of the downside of having the number one pick, is unless you're happen to get it in a year where there's a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or a LeBron or a Larry Bird or something like that, you don't come out of it thinking, wow, yes, we just transformed our franchise. This is one of the greatest moments in team history. That is not what yesterday was about, and not what the previous two, I think, were about either. So, yeah, I mean, did they improve their team yesterday? Sure. Is anyone really excited about it? Not really. I don't think so. I think, like I said, more relieved and waiting, sort of sitting back and waiting to see what happens more than jumping up and down, and cannot wait for the season to begin.
Yeah, I hear you on that as far as the way they approach it. Wiggins, I mean, I don't know what his ceiling is going to be, but I definitely think I 100% agree. I think the Cavs are definitely a better team now, just having made that selection. And really, I don't know how much you know about Joe Harris, the guy they took in the second round, but knowing the offense and the way this regime is going to put this team together, I think he's the piece that fits like a glove into what they're going to want to do. I mean, he hits 40% from three and 33 of it coming off of screens. He's very effective shooting and coming off of screens and floor spacing, and that's the kind of game these guys are going to play. And then Wiggins is just he's an athlete. And I'll tell you what, in all honesty, I do believe he's going to be a better defender than the rap on him is, because he's got the length and the size and the ability to affect you defensively, But I agree with you. I don't think he's that. Some people say maybe he turns into that, transcendent player, and I will say that he's probably the most hyped guy coming out in probably at least the last few years of drafts for sure, But I agree with you. I think you got yourself a several year all-star type player, but not Hall of Fame type player. I think is the way to look at it. But still,
right, you're right. You don't see those things coming. There are those once in a generation type of guys that come along that when you get that first pick, there's no doubt that you're going to pick him. There's no doubt that he's going to make you dramatically better, turn you from a terrible team into at least a playoff team in 1 year. And that comes along at least once every 10 years, or at most, I should say, once every 10 years. And that's not what this was. But that's not to say that he couldn't turn into that type of player. I think if you look at a lot of the guys that are that top 5, top 10 players in the NBA right now, sure, there's LeBron and maybe one or two others, but I think by and large, they're guys that were like Wiggins. They're like, well, okay, yeah, there's a potential upside here. We don't really know what he's going to be, and he turned into one of the top 5 players in the NBA. So, yeah, that potential is there.
And I'll tell you what I noticed too. Listening to him talk after he was drafted yesterday. Number one, notice we get numb because you hear about all these kids that are 19, 20, they're all in that age group, but a lot of, you look at LeBron. LeBron was a man playing with boys when he was in high school. When he came to the league, he had youthfulness, but he had a grown youthfulness about him. Andrew Wiggins is straight up a kid, like in the face, in the way he talks. I mean, when he started talking, I'm going, man, wow, this kid just comes across younger. Some guys come across older. He comes across definitely like a 19-year-old kid, but he seems in his off-the-court personality very easygoing, which is a good character trait in the self-entitled NBA that we're used to seeing now, so maybe that's a good thing. And I love that he wore the greatest suit ever in NBA draft history last night. That thing
I was going to say, I'm surprised
fantastic.
you were looking at his face. So we couldn't get past the suit. I don't even know what the kid looks like. I just was mesmerized. I looked at his suit, and the next thing I knew, 6 hours had gone by. I really don't know what happened.
It was great, man. Come on, that suit was incredible, man. You only get one chance to get drafted. You got to go in style, baby.
And he did. To someone's style. I don't know whose, but it was memorable, if nothing else.
Yeah, he definitely did, though. But, I don't know if we talked since it became official, but since you mentioned with the taking the wild card on the coach, what are your thoughts on David Blatt? Because I'm really intrigued by that hire, and I want to see how this works out because I think it has potential to work out well.
Well, yeah, to be fair, the Cavs they're in a rut. I mean, this organization needs to do something. They need to break out of this. They need to do something different, as any sports franchise does. When you have a long stretch, a long sour stretch, you're not going to get out of it by continually doing things that got you into that sour stretch. So I suppose give them credit for that, for thinking outside of the box. But feel good about this. I don't feel like it feels very much, whether or not it turns out to be the case, it feels very much flavor of the month. It feels very much like, well, the Cavs watched San Antonio and said, let's do that. Let's find a guy who will help us do exactly what these other guys are doing, which takes away a little bit from the unique quality. Yes, they're doing something different that they haven't done, but they're just trying to copy something else that someone else has done. And that doesn't typically work either. So they found the closest thing they could to match the style that they just watched on television that worked for a week. And I mean, San Antonio's been good for a while, but let's face it, they've only really become celebrated here for what they did. And their style has really not been embraced until we've seen what they did here this year. So, and I think that's what they did. If San Antonio lost the finals, I don't think they would have hired Paul Blatt. This is just their type of situation. And when we did talk about it, when the search was ongoing, we talked about how most of the names that were being circulated and rumored were these are retreads. And we both had shared the same view that the NBA is very much about retreads and celebrates to some extent retreads, and just guys get hired and fired for coaching jobs 4, 5, 6 times in some cases. And we felt that the Cavs, we weren't excited about them going that way, but I think at some level we thought that they would. They did not. But there's something to be said, especially now that you look at it when they've gone another way, there's something to be said about why these guys do get retread and why the same guys keep getting jobs. Not necessarily that they're great coaches, but that I think in the NBA, coaching is more so than any other sport, it's less about game day and less about X's and O's and strategy and blackboard. It's about ego management, let's face it, more so than any other. There's an element to that in every professional coaching gig, to be sure, but more so than any, it's the NBA. That's really the primary aspect of the job, and then you sort of show up on the sidelines and you sit there in a coat and tie and manage the game a little bit. So I think the retreads keep coming in because we know, even if these guys aren't brilliant tacticians, they're going to get the ship to shore. They are going to, they have experience managing egos, they can prevent disasters, and they'll keep this from turning into a train wreck. Not to say that is what is going to happen with the Cavs and what's going to happen with Blatt, but you've opened that door now. Here's a guy who has zero experience in the NBA. I don't know how much street cred he's going to have anywhere in the NBA, even with the Cavs players. So, he's going to bring this brand new sort of style in that we can talk about how much it's respected, all that we want, and the players can say, yes, in theory, I totally agree with this. And I have this feeling that after about a week or two of practice, And whether or not it's working or whether or not they're having fun, the style is just, they're just kind of just not, the brakes are going to come on and say, okay, no, I don't believe in this. This is weird. This is different. I don't know who this guy is. He talks funny. I just don't have any sense of what his background is or why they hired him. And this could turn into a train wreck. Not to say that it will, but I think you've opened that door. So it's high risk, high reward, really.
Clearly, part of that's the reason why they spent a record salary on the assistant head coach position and brought Tyronn Lue along
and that
with
tells
him,
you something too. I mean, I don't fault the Cavs for doing that. I think that's, you got to respect that move. But would they have done that if they hired anybody else? No. Had they done that if they hired a recheck? No. They knew they needed basically a liaison. They needed somebody who's going to be able to communicate between the head coach and the players, because I think they know that there's a very good possibility that they're not even going to be able to communicate with each other.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what. I mean, obviously, like you said, there's another coach that doesn't get done, so whether I don't know. I tell you what. And then again, hey, that's what I do. I look at it more from the upside than the downside. But I don't know, man. I was so anti all the other coaches that they were talking about that I don't know. Maybe that's why I was open-minded to seeing what Blatt's going to do. But I do see, I know what you're saying, and I think it'll be interesting to see how, and that's why it's not just because you say ego management, it's not, and you're right, in the NBA, more than any other, it's so individually centered, and that's just the way it's set up, because there's only 5 of them on the court, so each one has more control over the game than in the other sports, but, that's kind of where I look, I guess, at the attitude, and I say, well, I mean, at least before he's been paid, the kid seems like he's got a good attitude. I'm hoping, because you're going to need some of that. Maybe you're going to need a couple of 19-year-old kids that haven't seen the way they do it other places yet to, you know what I mean? Because the less you've seen, the less you question, and the more you go with the show. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, very difficult to imagine, and I think this rumor has more or less been put to bed by now, but I think by hiring him to seal that envelope on anybody's hopes of LeBron coming back. Is LeBron going to come back into a situation where you're basically bringing in a bunch of kids and rebuilding, essentially, with a brand new coach, with a brand new style that is basically unproven in the NBA? Does that really sound like that's what a veteran on the brink at the peak of his career looking to win championships immediately, does that sound like the type of situation he's going to sign up for?
No, and that's exactly what I was going to ask you next. Not so much on Cleveland's end, because I'm with you, or I don't believe that's going to happen. But how do you see by the time you and I talk next week, how do you see that next week's ridiculousness going down? How crazy are these stories and these teams going to get with these, as like I said yesterday, as he sits back and says, cities, show me your ring and set my throne, It's going to get crazy over the next 7 days.
It's despicable, really. And it's not just LeBron, it's the Andrew. But this is something else again. My gosh, I mean, this is really just. You get the feeling too. I just get the feeling that when the dust settles, he's going to wind up right back where he started from. He loves the drama. He wants the attention. He likes the drama. He's a diva. We know that he's a diva from the time that he was here. We knew he was a diva. So I think this is more all about Eve. I think this is he's putting on a show. He wants some attention. He wants praise lavished upon him, and just to see what he's worth and what people are willing to give him. But I don't think he's going to be picking up and moving anywhere. Like you said, certainly not to Cleveland. That ship has sailed. So, yeah, I would say that by the end of this, he will still be playing with Miami next year, and maybe he'll learn another couple of all-stars to help carry him to another title.
Knowing him, I'm telling you, is he does the year-by-year deal for the next couple of years, man. So he gets to do this every summer for the next few seasons, Yes,
I could totally see that. I could see him doing a 2-year contract or something like that. I think 4-year contract, that's a little long for him right now. I think he likes this attention. He knows he's got basically a closing window. He has maybe 4 years, 5 years in his prime left, maybe not even that long, really. I mean, he's been fortunate that he's been healthy this whole time. But, yeah, that window is going to start to close. By the next time we're having this conversation about where LeBron's going to go, I don't think people are going to be quite so excited to lure him. This is it for him.
And I can already hear the narratives. I was telling a friend of mine yesterday, I said, I can already hear the next few years the talk about the changing of the guard, much like they talked about with the way he left Cleveland to begin with, how LeBron has ushered in the newest fad in contracts of controlling your own destiny and only going 1 or 2 years at a time the entire way, and every time making your team prove to you that they deserve to keep you for the next year or two, and creating. And you know what's so funny about it is that's the same short-sighted mentality that you're putting these franchises through that caused the problems that led to him thinking he had to leave to begin with. You know what I mean? The
right.
Shotgun decision making in trying to rush these things together, and then what do you end up with in the aftermath? Even when say LeBron comes, you're left with a rebuild, and you're left with a fan base that's probably going to have to sit through 3 or 4 or 5 years of garbage. So, to me, even the trade-off, some people say, hey, I'll take the trade-off for a championship. But, man, I mean, I don't know. It's easy to say that before you're sitting in year 5 of the rebuild.
Well, yeah,
you know?
You're exactly right. And look at it another way. I mean, I think you could easily look at the Miami Heat and say, was this really worth it? I mean, these last 4 years, did they really get what they intended? When they arrived, remember, they're talking about, we're going to win 6, 7, 8. We're going to be this dynasty. And in 4 years, yes, they won a couple of championships, but also keep in mind, this was not a franchise that had not won a championship before. They had one. They had one under their belt. The city of Miami, the Marlins, had won 2 World Series in recent memory. So this is not like a city that starved to win a championship at all costs the way that Cleveland is. This was a city that just, I don't know, they wanted to improve their team, and they did. And they won 2 titles, but geez, 2 out of 4? The way they were talking, it was going to be 6, 7, 8 in a row. And the 2 that they lost, and now that at least this first wave of it is over, seeing what, we'll see what happens and who comes back and who doesn't. But you could make an argument that this was a disappointment, that Miami did not get what they wanted out of this deal. So, a cautionary tale in some cases. What if there was a city like Cleveland that just wanted a championship at all costs and went all out to sign a LeBron or sign somebody like that and didn't deliver? Now what do you do? I mean, that could snuff out this trend very quickly.
Oh, I agree with you. And I've said that some people argue with me too. Oh, well, they have 50% of titles. And I still say you didn't get, and I don't just mean, you can look at it from LeBron, Miami, any other perspective, that it did not end up what you thought it was going to end up.
No, it absolutely did not. I mean, you really can't. Yes, they won 2 titles, but my gosh, that was not what they were, they didn't come there to win 2 out of 4. That's not what they're there for. The expectations were much, much higher. And that fan base, of course, what little fan base there is, they just expect it every single year. What little energy they put into paying attention to their teams in Miami, they just, if we're not in the championship, I'm not even going to pay attention. So, 2 out of 4, no, that's not going to cut it.
And 2 out of 4, and realistically, when you look at it, you could go, wow, a bounce of the ball and a Ray Allen 3 away from making it 1
should have been 3 out of 4. Really? Yeah, they should have lost. They should have lost last year. That's exactly right.
And then to end it in the most lopsided loss in NBA Finals history, it's just that's like embarrassment at that level to me, and that's why I think that's why there's the question that maybe he will opt out. But I still think at the end of the day, it's easier for him to stay there than to deal with the next thing, anything other than staying or coming back to. Well, who cares? You just count the rings, but 3 franchises before 30. It's kind of, you know what I mean? That's, I don't know, man. The great ones don't play for 3 or 4 or 5 different franchises when their career's over.
No, I mean there's been any number of parallels between LeBron. Not just the decision, but you compare LeBron to Magic and to Bird and to Jordan especially. Jordan never lost a finals. Jordan didn't bounce around from team to team. There's any number of parallels make LeBron look bad. But is how much he really does care about his legacy, so to speak, in quotation marks, I guess, legacy. Does he really care? Like, at some point, does he want to win one by himself, so to speak? Does he want to say that, I didn't need Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. I didn't need to put together an all-star team to win a championship. Does he care about that? I don't know. I don't know that he really cares. I think he likes the I don't think he likes the comparisons to Jordan, where you say, well, Jordan didn't need this and Jordan didn't need that. So I think that is something that has fueled him throughout his career. But yeah, I don't know if he cares that much that he would say, no, I need to prove this. I need to do this. I need to win one. I need to do this differently. I need to go back to Cleveland and win one would solve the problem anyway. I think his legacy is somewhat tarnished regardless of what happens from this point because of what he's done off the court as much as on. But yeah, I don't know that he really cares. I don't know that he's just going to shrug it off and say, yeah, I'll just take my paycheck and end up in the finals every year and we'll win half the time. I'm fine with that. At some point he'll just give up and just say, I don't care what people think. I'm just going to do my thing and be my own and I'll worry about my legacy 20 years from now.
Brother, the next week is going to get even worse. I'm telling you. The other day, I didn't want to do the show because it was the day he opted out, and I'm like, man, this is all people are going to want to be talking about today, man, and I can't do it. I've been putting it off for a year and a half. I've been going, no, man, we're not talking about this stuff. We're not talking about LeBron and Cleveland and all this. And now we have no choice. But the next week is just going to get crazy when you hear the stories of, this franchise took LeBron to, the Circle K and showed him a projection film where what they were going to build a LeBron gas station for him. And they showed him the neighborhood where they were going to create the King's Castle and all of this other stuff.
The statue outside the state. That's I guess we can just hope for that it's over quickly. For as bad as it's going to get, at least the decision was fairly quick. I think we only had to deal with it for maybe a month, a couple of weeks, and then he went on TV and made his announcement. So I think we're just hoping for a quick shot behind the ear and let's end this thing now. Let's not drag this on. That was a nice thing. I was thinking today too that the one really nice thing about the NBA draft is that the time between the lottery and the draft was only a few weeks. We didn't have to suffer through 6 months of conjecture the way we do in the NFL and Zell and all of that. My God, by the time it came around, just be done with it. The lottery was in mid-May and then the draft was last night. So you only had to deal with this for about 4 or 5 weeks and it's over. So thankfully, that's one thing the NBA does correctly is there's not, although I guess if ESPN has anything to say about it, they'll drag that out. Pretty soon the NBA draft will be in late July or August, or they'll move the lottery up before the season's over or something ridiculous. So there's plenty of more time for the talking heads to speculate.
Absolutely. Speaking of, here's the perfect thing to bring an end to our conversation. The talking heads this morning, and I don't know if you even had a chance to see the news and all that stuff that's out there, but they're going bonkers here out of Berea with Johnny Manziel this morning as he stuck his tongue back out at the media and said, "Listen, I'm not changing for nobody. I don't care who likes it." And you know what? We've talked about him, obviously everybody else has as well. But to me, the biggest thing I get out of that is the defiance more than anything else. And I get wanting to do your thing and all of that. Sometimes it's like we say, sometimes the easy way, it's called the easy way for a reason. And doing things the hard way, I don't understand people that insist on doing that. And that to me is what that is. Not the act of doing what you want, but sticking your tongue out to the media and saying, hey, kiss my ass, there's nothing you can do about it. That is the dumb part of it that just causes problems.
He has not gotten hit either physically, and he has not gotten embarrassed. None of this has really, now it's all just fun and games and taking pictures of him talking to a wad of money and floating on a swan. It's all he starts taking the field, and number one, becomes a very big target for these guys who don't like this kind of garbage he's pulling off the field, who thinks this is really kind of just weird and just not appropriate. He'll start getting smacked around there. And let's wait till he has his first 4 or 5 interception game. And it's like, I wonder if maybe he hadn't been floating around in a pool on a swan last weekend. Maybe he wouldn't have thrown 5 interceptions. Let's let that sink in a little bit, and then he will. He will change. This is not going to be. He will not survive. He was right. But somebody said the other day, you're not going to survive. You're not going to have your career where you go through your career like you're living like Tony Stark is going to work. So sooner or later he will learn this lesson. Whether how hard that lesson comes is going to be the question.
No, you're absolutely right about that too. And you know what? You talk about the locker room aspect of it, which is something I've been stressing. I can tell you for a fact that it's something that he's thinking about now, because he made a point today to mention that my teammates are tired of the hype on me. And I'll tell you what. Yeah. That wasn't just a empty statement that he threw out there. That's because that's a reality that he's dealing with, is that there are people that go, listen, man, I've made this much money. I've done this. I've done that. And I haven't been in the news, half this much. And this kid hasn't even taken a training camp snap yet. You know what I mean? And
you've got to ask yourself, if you're an offensive lineman for the Cleveland Browns and you see your quarterback gallivanting around, does that really make you want to lay out to protect this guy? Are you going to go into battle with this guy? Are you willing to put your body, your career on the line and stand up and protect this guy? There's no answer to that question. Just think about the question. I mean, and sooner or later, if this continues, that will become an issue. Guys do not want to go into battle with somebody that they cannot trust, that they do not like, that they do not respect. That is an issue that is going to come up for as long as he keeps playing these games.
Brother, do you know what I just saw in my head? I'm sure you know where I'm going with this. As you're saying that, I'm seeing Steamin' Willie Beeman and From Any Given Sunday, Jamie music video and all that other stuff, and then they let him get sacked 7 and nobody blocked for him.
See, I was even thinking of, if you remember going way back, it dates me a little bit, but if you remember Heaven Can Wait, the Warren Beatty movie where he comes in and buys the team and inserts himself as quarterback, and the guys just kind of forget to block for him, and he gets crushed and clobbered time and again. That's what basically, different scenario, but exact same result. You come in here like a pretty boy, and you come in here and make a target of yourself, make yourself disliked within your own team, you will be feeling pain at some point.
I get a kick out of it. Here's the thing. The only reason that I'm bringing this up is because of, to me, it's doing yourself more harm than good. It would be so easy.
Exactly.
There he is. My name is Willie Beeman. There's his rap song. Anyways, I'm telling you, I love it, man. I love it. But, you have a chance to defuse it, and instead you put guests on it. That's dumb. And I know some people say, hey, that's moxie. That's being a kid. That's saying, hey, I'm kicking back at authority. I get that, but you're just making life harder on yourself, man. But anyways, listen, it'll all be a big wake-up call eventually, so...
Right. This will stop. One way or another, it will stop. This will not continue. He has to, it's like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. You can't just tell him to click his heels and goes back to Kansas. He has to go through this to learn it for himself. That's the only way. He's not going to learn from the columnists and online pundits lecturing him and sermonizing him about, no, this is not the way an NFL quarterback, this is not the way the face of the franchise should perform. No, he's going to learn it the hard way, and it will stop. It's just a question of how soon.
That's it. And then how he reacts to that, which is guaranteed to happen, that's going to determine what kind of quarterback he ends up. Because if he reacts the way the good ones do and makes the changes, that's where I say, man, hey, this could be a good thing. You know what I mean? Because every quarterback down the road that started out, with a little bit of an ego tells you, any great player tells you, man, I had to change. I had to learn. I had to watch this guy. I had to learn how to focus, practice, whatever it is. They all have that story to a man when they started out being the big man on campus. So if he's going to get better, he'll have one just like that. He'll go, man, he'll be telling people 5 years from now, my first month I'm on Swans and I'm in Las Vegas and all of this, and man, now I won a title and this and that, and that's what you want. Or the downside is he's, I don't want to be insulting and say he's like Art Schlichter, but he's a washout, and he's going, well, I couldn't put the bottle down, and now I got nothing, and I'm just exaggerating, but it can go either way, I mean. It really can.
And it needs to one way, similar to the LeBron thing, let's just get this over quickly. Let's just get him on the field. Let's just start. I don't want to see more weekend snapshots and selfies of whatever he's doing in swimming pools across the great Midwest. I don't care. Let's just move on. I just want to fast forward past this part of the movie and get to the next part where hopefully things will be a little more substantial.
I'll tell you what, now that we're talking about Johnny Football, should have drafted LeBron too, and then maybe had a chance to get them both to come and play for the Globetrotters together. Maybe that would have been the next stop,
Yes.
If I was the Browns, I'd be on the phone right now to LeBron's people going, hey, right around this time, Jordan took that little baseball break, man. I mean, hey,
That's a great point. You talk about legacy building, yeah. Let's just switch sports. For my goodness, we talked about how LeBron could have, had he played football, had he gone with football, he could have made it to the NFL as a receiver. Yeah, sure. Browns are short one wide receiver right now. How about bringing in LBJ here?
We're short a wide receiver right now. Hey, come on, just 1 year. Josh Gordon's out. Come on, hey, you promised a ring. We help a brother out.
That's right. Jordan never won a Super Bowl.
Go across the. That'll get you your statue. Go across the middle. Catch a couple of Johnny's passes for us. Get us through this whole Josh Gordon thing, and we'll call the decision forgiven. How's that?
He only has to play for as long as Gordon is suspended. How about that? However many games that is, that's how many games we will have LeBron playing wide out for the Browns. And then once Gordon is back, LeBron can go back to Miami or wherever he wants to go. I think that's a perfectly fair trade.
We'll call it even. All will be forgiven, and then everybody can move on, man. I love it.
Absolutely. It is brilliant.
We got it. We got to get the people. Somebody get LRMR. Get the Paul guy, Ron Paul, Rich Paul. Ron Paul, the congressman, or the politician. Rich Paul. Get him on the phone, and let's get this thing worked out. JK, my man. Always good talking to you. I look forward to next week. I don't know if I do because it's free agent week, but I'm sure that we will have no shortage of LeBron or Cavs or Johnny Football or Johnny Football playing for the Cavs or something we'll have to talk about, man.
Yeah, really what Johnny Football is doing here is keeping the Browns on the radar. Not that they need an excuse, because I think that's something the Cavs and Indians are well aware of, but even when the Browns aren't, that's what he's doing. Manziel's just, hey, it's kind of slow. I'm going to go do something completely asinine and moronic to get myself and the Browns as the top of the conversation for the next few days.
It's completely philanthropic. That's what it is, man. He is doing
this. It's altruistic is what it is. He's taking one for the team. The team needs a spotlight, and he's going to step up.
He's doing it for you and you and you. He is doing it for you, baby. So there you go. JK, my man, enjoy the weekend. Ian's got the rest of this West Coast trip here. Then they come back for a couple good ones. So we'll have some
we just talked for a half hour in the middle of June and did not mention the Indians. What the hell was that about?
It's because it's the day after the draft.
Yeah, I suppose. It is the Cavs, though, really. I mean, goodness. Point taken, yeah.
All right, my man. We will talk some Tribe and everything else next week.
Yes, we will. Yes, I promise for everyone who's dying to hear thoughts on the Indians. Yes, there's plenty more Indians to talk about. We will pick it up next week.
JK, my man, you have a good one. Thank you for joining us this week. Last week, they were mad at me. They're like, he's gone already. I said, hey, man, we had to make it short, man. But so glad.
Just cut him. Yeah, we need to make space for some other things. We had to cut him here.
I'm just like, go. I said, all right, you got to go. I'll get
you. You're doing? You're managing my playing time. This is something that the NBA coaches have to do. You're managing my playing time. Gave me the day off. That's what it was, right?
No, yeah, that's it, man. It was a DNP coach's decision. All right. JK, you have a good week, my man, and we'll catch up next Friday.
You too, buddy. Looking forward to it.
All right. My man, Jonathan Knight, as always, you guys can hit him up on Twitter at JKnightWriter. He's here every Friday. Coming up next, Mike Brandenberry from DidTheTribeWinLastNight.com. Coming on next, we'll talk some Indians baseball with Mike next here on the Sports Fix.
It's my prerogative, can't you see, baby doll? Ha!
The Sports Fix, your choice for intelligent talk.
That was wonderful.
Bravo!
I loved that.
Oh, it was great.
Intelligent talk.
Well, it was pretty good.
Well, it wasn't bad.
Well, there were parts of it that weren't very good,
It could have been a lot better.
I didn't really like it.
These guys must be on the wrong station.
It was pretty terrible.
It was bad.
It was awful.
It was terrible.
Get him away!
Hey, boo!
Boo! The Sports Fix. It's an addiction. The Sports Fix. We'll be right back.
Have you gotten your copy of Cleveland's Finest yet? Highlighting the best moments, players, and media members in Cleveland sports history?
He won it! Milo hit a three-pointer on the side!
In-depth personal interviews with some of the top names in Cleveland sports fill the pages of this incredible book. Cleveland's Finest by Vince McKee is this year's must-have book for every Cleveland sports fan. Available now at Amazon.com. Get your copy today. Sports Fix listeners, do you tweet? So do we. So tweet with us 24/7 at the Sports Fix CLE.
Business owners and professionals, do you want to take your business, your product, your team, your event to the next level? You want to advertise right here with the Sports Fix. Our listeners are among the most loyal listeners, terrestrial or internet. The Sports Fix universe is not only the radio show, but tens of thousands of fans on Facebook and Twitter. Email me, Jerry Myers, thesportsfix at AOL.com. That's thesportsfix at AOL.com. And let me help you swing for the fences and hit it out of the park right here on the Sports Fix.
Portions of the Sports Fix brought to you by Harry Buffalo. Harry Buffalo, join the herd.
News break.
Good morning, I'm Bob Picosi. Kansas has won 3 national championships and has been to 14 Final Fours, but only 2 J-Hawks have been the first pick in the NBA draft. Danny Manning in 1988, and now Andrew Wiggins. He was selected by the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Growing up, just being in the NBA was a dream to me, and then it all became so real in high school and college that I could possibly be the number 1 pick. And from there, I just shot for it and aimed for it, and that's what I wanted to be, and I finally achieved it.
Wiggins becoming the second straight Canadian-born player to be selected first in the draft. In the third round at Wimbledon, now live on ESPN, top-seeded Novak Djokovic leads Gilles Simon 6-4, 6-2, 3-2. Barbora Zalavova-Stresova leads 2-seed Li Na 7-6, 3-4, and 3-seed Simona Halep defeated Lisa Sarenko 6-3, 6-4. In the second round at the Quicken Loans National in Bethesda, Maryland, Greg Chalmers is the leader at 5 under. He doesn't tee off Woods, who was 3 over yesterday. Tiger begins at 1:12 Eastern Time today. It's a dark day at the World Cup. The round of 16 begins tomorrow when Brazil meets Chile and Colombia plays Uruguay.
Your arm pivots, your wrist pivots. You don't need a ridiculously expensive rollerball razor that pivots. Join DollarShaveClub.com and get top quality razors delivered for just a few bucks a month. That's DollarShaveClub.com.
You're listening to the Sports Fix.
Welcome back into the Sports Fix Live here on the sportsfix.net as Hour 2 kicks off, flipping over into that second hour. Thanks to my man, the sports writer extraordinaire, Jonathan Knight, for joining us in Hour 1. Always a good time. Looking forward to having him. Remember, if you like what you hear, maybe you're listening for the first time, JK's with us every Friday as we have just a cornucopia of guests throughout the week that join us. My next guest is one who's with us several times a week during the baseball season and, of course, even through the off season. Of course, talking about site.com. You can't get on the phones because Mike's already there. Instead of yelling at him, yell at us on Facebook and Twitter. Facebook.com/thesportsfix. Tweet with us at thesportsfixCLE. Stay in the conversation here throughout the, not just throughout the show, but throughout the day, throughout the weekend, as since we're sitting here on a Friday looking ahead to the weekend. You can email us, thesportsfix@AOL.com. And matter of fact, let's go to the phones here now. Real quick, we were talking some basketball here, news popping across. Zach Randolph opts in and gets a contract extension from the Memphis Grizzlies, 37 over the next 3 years. Zach Randolph was somebody that he hit the open market, but he's somebody taken off wisely, I think, by the Grizz there. Anyways, let's go to the phones. We'll talk some Indians here. They were off last night after splitting the beginning of the road trip here in Arizona. Now you've got Seattle. It comes up this weekend, and they're going to be short a pitcher here. We'll get the update on Justin Mastersons. Let's talk to Mike Brandenberry from DidTheTribeWinLastNight.com. He's with us. Mike, how you doing?
Oh, Jerry, I'm doing good. It's one of those crazy weeks. So much time it looks like on your schedule at the beginning of the week, and you turn around on Friday and go, man, I haven't sat down yet.
I am with you there, you know. Already another week has blown by us. Not just a week, a month has blown by us here. We'll come back and what is it, one day, Monday? Yeah, Monday is the 30th, so, and then we're flipping that calendar into July, baby. I mean, it doesn't stop. It keeps moving, man.
We are. There's so little time, so many golf courses to play, so much World Cup to watch. I know that's two things on your agenda as well.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Don't get me started with you and the whole soccer thing here, because I fully contend that we could do our thing and you don't miss a thing. I mean, come on. 30 minutes at most you and I talk on the show. Not a goal gets scored in 30 minutes in soccer, brother. You would have been just fine returning to the same 0-0 tie that you left.
Oh, but you don't know that for sure. That's why it's so dramatic. If you watch it and you give it a chance, man, those guys work so hard.
No, I know. Listen, brother, I know.
Or work so hard just for a draw, or you know. I mean, that's what makes this fun.
Look at your boy over here.
It's not easy to score. It's not basketball. They don't throw one in the hole, every 30 seconds.
Look at your boy over here, everybody. Look at him. Talk a little bit about soccer. He's hot. He's he's in defense mode right now. Like that's fighting words right there, man. He is he's throwing down with me over it. Listen, soccer has just some of the greatest athletes. I mean, I say that all the time. I go, man, I don't understand how a sport cannot interest me at all, because I'm a huge mark for difficult athletic feats, but for some reason I just can't do soccer. It just doesn't work for me, and I don't know why, because I try. Hockey does.
The World Cup is a great time to get into soccer, and we don't have to talk soccer the whole time. I know you want to, but we don't have to. But the World Cup is a great time to get into soccer, because you see some of the best, and you see the best players around the entire world. You see some of the best countries face off, and you get great matches, Jerry. And you can really see that demonstrated, those guys that are playing so hard for one or two goals that make the difference in the game. And the World Cup is really kind of what sucked me into soccer, really more so in the last World Cup, but even a little bit before that. I was really down on the Indians in 2010, and in June I said, for a month, I'm just going to be a soccer fan, and I kind of got hooked into it. But I'll agree with you. I think the hard part for Americans is that we don't have a good league to follow on a regular basis. MLS is like AA baseball,
and that's the truth. Yeah,
and that makes it really difficult.
We don't have the Premier League or one of those big deal. Yeah, we don't have a major league equivalent of soccer, and I think that's part of it.
And our best players go overseas to play.
Yep.
I mean, for the most part. I mean, you can't turn, Josie Altidore and Tim Howard on a Saturday. Well, I guess you can now, because they broadcast English Premier League games on NBC. But, and I think the other thing is, when there's nothing in our country like that, it's kind of hard to have that local fandom. I mean, you and I can come on here and talk about the Indians, and we'll have a good conversation, and people will listen and care, because we all have an interest. But I mean, if I'm a fan of Manchester United and you're a fan of Aston Villa because you still remember the good times with Randy Lerner, then we don't really have a lot to talk about.
Man, listen, I'm with you, and I appreciate it, but at the same time, maybe I've lived in Cleveland too long, but if I'm going to watch low-scoring guys play on grass, I'll just watch the Browns, man. I don't know, man.
It's true. I saw a great tweet at the end of the Portugal game, which is really true, is after Portugal scored, I saw a tweet that somebody said, it was pretty close to America. Now you understand what it's like to be a Cleveland fan.
No, after they got tied at the end, my timeline was full of that. America just got Cleveland, and welcome to our world. Oh yeah, trust me, I saw that all over my timeline, brother. Like what was it, 20 seconds left there when you give it back. And see, like, there's another thing. I didn't mean to talk soccer, but since we're in here, the other thing that throws me is that whole stoppage time thing. Like, I get it why they do it, but it just, you're putting time back on the clock after the time's over. Like, I don't know, man. That, I know it's part of the game, but part of it feels like the game was over and now the game's not over anymore, and then the result can change. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
If you really want to go wall-to-wall soccer, we can start talking about stoppage time and what is the NCAA on a worldwide basis, because they are the most crooked organization. I actually believe that the NCAA people sit around and actually watch things that FIFA do and go, oh, that's crooked and shady. We haven't thought of that one yet. We should do that too.
Okay, for those of you that don't know, FIFA is an organizing body of soccer. I don't know if people know that or not. So I'm just kidding about how many people don't watch soccer. And I'll let you in on a secret. Anyone that doesn't know, FIFA hates the U.S. They love our money. They love that our country is the one who has bought the most tickets and traveled to Brazil of any foreign country. They love our money. But I will tell you right now that if it is a close game, do not be surprised to see a shady call go against the U.S. in the last 15 minutes on Monday. The fix is in. The fix is in on Monday.
What's that?
I said the fix is in on Monday, huh?
Hey, they're the Boise State of the world when it comes to soccer. Everybody wants all their fans to show up, and everybody wants their money, but nobody really wants them to win anything.
Oh, man. You're listening to the Sports Fix. We're talking to Mike Brandenberry. We're supposed to be talking Indians here, so somehow we got on a soccer tangent here. But, hey, you know what? Team USA, congratulations. All joking aside, they advanced to the round of 16, where now it's a tournament. It's the old school tournament. Let's see who the last man standing is, and let's see if some shadiness goes down by the time Mike joins us again. Hey, let's talk about the Indians a little bit here. They're getting ready to restart here. Had a day off, Seattle, and just as they go to the four-man rotation for a couple of weeks to get through, then the thing with Masterson and his knee and pushing him back. I talked about this a bit at length yesterday. I just want your thoughts. I'm telling you, you may say, Jerry, I know you like Masterson, and that's your thing, but look at how good he looked in the spring. Look at how good he looked in his first appearance of the season. I pulled it up yesterday. It was 7 innings, a couple of hits. I mean, just a knockout start to the season. And then he says this injury goes back to the second start of the season, and that's literally when he fell off the cliff and never recovered up and down all season long. Do you think that, because remember, I kept saying I thought maybe he was injured and maybe the Indians don't know about it. Maybe he's keeping it quiet, but I thought it would be more in the arm. But clearly there was something, and I think that maybe that explains why his first half has gone the way it does. What do you think?
I think it's very possible. I think maybe in the greater scheme, it's more of a reason as to why the Indians were a little reluctant to jump on board as quickly as the rest of us were for an extension for him, because he has an injury by his own admission that he's been trying to pitch through, but clearly it's not working. And I think some of the bigger issues that we've seen over his career, and I know I've talked about over the last 4 years, the velocity of his fastball has dropped every year, Jerry, and it's dropped this year, and that may be a part of the knee injury, and he says it's the right knee, that's his drive leg, and I mean that definitely make a difference. And for a guy who is so dependent upon his mechanics, when he's going right, he's really right, but when he's not, it goes everywhere, and we've seen a lot more of bad Justin Masterson than we have good Justin Masterson this year. And I think for those reasons, if a small knee injury creates such a change, I think you have to go back to, again, and question, is this a guy that's worth somewhere between $14 and $17 million a year moving forward? And, on some teams he might be. On the Indians, that is always somewhat financially strapped, or, money always makes some kind of difference. I don't know. But, I think there's definitely, there's definitely something to the fact that he claims that he's had a knee injury. So
I don't think it's small, though, man. I think it may turn out that it's more than just a small knee thing, especially if it's something that has lingered throughout this season. I know you and I differ a bit on our thought. I don't think Justin Masterson is an ace, but I think he's better than, some people give him credit for, and not as good as outlet. And I thought, man, and I know spring training is its own animal, but Justin Masterson was so locked in early on, and then for it to just change. And I mean, I don't know. Again, it could just be something. Listen, every guy that goes through it, not every guy, but most guys that go through a slump also ended up having an injury at the same time. So I understand the skepticism there, but man, he's not one of those guys. He's never struck me as one of those guys. He's always, packed his lunchbox and went to work. So I don't know. And I think that there may be more to this. I think that it may be more than just this. I don't know. I mean, I couldn't tell you, and maybe I'm just making excuses.
I don't disagree with any of that, Jerry. I think you're right. I think Justin Masterson, I think on a World Series contending team, Justin Masterson is your second or third starter. And, if we rewind tape back to when we were talking about contract extensions and over the winter, I mean, I was someone that said, I don't know how you can't afford to not give the guy the money, because if you let that guy leave, I'm not sure you have anyone. And I mean, Corey Kluber's had a good first half, and he looked pretty good last year, but I'm not sure I'm ready to put Kluber in that same mold quite yet. And if you are, I mean, if Masterson's your 2 and Kluber's your 3, you're still looking for a 1. And the thing is, if you lose either of those guys for some reason, then you need 2 of those 3 spots. So I'm not sure that they can still necessarily afford to give up on Justin Masterson. And I agree with you on the injury front. I mean, I've worked with, I've coached pitchers, and I've seen it happen 100 times. Guys who have small problems and they become big ones. I mean, that's basically the story of how Scott Kazmir fell off the map, is that he had a small injury that he tried to pitch through, and his mechanics got all jacked up. I mean, and obviously Masterson's not to that degree, but I mean, one small injury can definitely affect everything, and I think that it has for him.
Right, and I'm curious to see here after this weekend, this little pushback when they reevaluate things, and I'm sure that may also involve getting it checked out. I want to see how this falls out. And then, too, you look, as we're talking about all season, getting a consistent starting rotation. And here, just when they decided, you know what, we're just going to forego the 5th starter. We don't need him right now. We'll go with 4. We'll get us through the beginning here into July, and then we'll reevaluate things. Yourself in an even better position. Who do you think? I mean, you got to think it's going to be House, just because Salazar, I mentioned yesterday, he's had that bad reaction, as you call it, to going down to AAA, and I think that may be in his head a little bit there, because you can't go back with McAllister because he's got to be down 10 days, the situation they were in before, right?
I'm not sure how the math works on the 10 days, but depending on what the language is, I think that is his 10th day. He was sent down last Friday, so today would be day 8, Saturday would be 9, and Sunday would be 10. Now, if he gets credit for, the day he was sent down and the day that he was called back up in those 10, he'd be eligible. But if not, I mean, it has to be TJ House, and I would make an argument that it probably should be anyways. I mean, Zach McAllister's coming off of injury. They've kind of shuffled him around. To me, something about that doesn't pass the smell test, and then to put him on a flight to Seattle across country to pitch, I'm not sure that that's your best avenue for a good outcome with a guy who's trying to work his way back from an injury.
I agree with you there, and I'll tell you, maybe you guys will call me wrong on Monday or Tuesday, but I think Justin Masterson's going on the disabled list with this thing. I think this is going to be one of those. Just like, it's not like guys, this group does this a lot. No, man, things are fine. We're going to give it a couple of days to calm down. Then, we put him on the disabled list. It turned out that we weren't exactly right about that after all. And they know what they're doing. They just, and that's a lot of teams do that. But I wouldn't be surprised at all to see him end up on the disabled list off of this. To me, what I said yesterday was, if it's the kind he's off fix, it would have gotten fixed a lot sooner than it is now. And I think that it's going to turn out to be, let's give it 2 more weeks.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, the road, and that's the type of thing. I mean, honestly, at that point, once you skip a starter's start, I mean, you're basically already halfway through a DL stint. Just pushing him back, he's going to go 8 days without pitching. Well, if there's still a problem there, take the extra week and get the good Justin Masterson coming back out of the All-Star break, than 2/3 of the Justin Masterson that we've seen most of this year. So I wouldn't be surprised. I would agree with you. I definitely wouldn't be surprised if it turns into a DL stint, and that may make it easier for them to make those transactions. If House comes up and makes the start on Sunday, then McAllister takes his spot officially when Masterson goes on the DL, and that's your 5-man rotation, probably riding it to the All-Star break, and you see Justin Masterson coming out of the All-Star game.
Yeah, that sounds like a likely way. And plus, you've been nailing these pretty good lately, so I'm gonna go with the you've got this thing down pretty good, calling your roster changes here. Hey, Seattle here. Before you and I got to go, let's look ahead. You've got the middle part of this road trip, some more late night baseball here. 10:10 first pitch in the Eastern time zone. Talk a little bit here. This matchup here. I mentioned it earlier. I had shot 15 wins for June as my goal for what I'd like to see the Indians accomplish, and if they take 3 of the last 4 here, they can finish with a 15-win month here. But you've got Seattle and then the Dodgers on the backside of this. Look ahead a little bit. How do you see this series going down with the Indians and the Mariners?
Well, I mean, most baseball people will tell you that you look at each series in a vacuum and you just try to win the series. But kind of going along with what you were talking about and trying to put together good months and put together good road trips, I think if you take a step back just from the series, I think this is an important series here for the road trip, because when they go back down to L.A., that's a good Dodger team that's starting to get a little hot, and the Indians are going to see Clayton Kershaw, and I don't think that that's a very good matchup. I don't know that anybody matches up with Clayton Kershaw, but I don't think the Indians are the ones being a little bit of a lefty-heavy team. I mean, I don't think anybody looks at the lineup card and goes, oh, Kershaw today? Well, we got his number. But I don't think the Indians match up very well at all. And so, I mean, with that in mind, I think this is an important weekend to try and get at least 2 out of 3. So you kind of keep the line moving, to use a Francona term, and to kind of continue to at least be mediocre on the road.
And I'll tell you what, you talk about matchups tonight, I guess just looking from a strictly the way guys are playing coming in perspective, matchups maybe don't work out so well for the Indians pitching-wise. Trevor Bauer, as we know, on the road, struggling, looking to get himself going for his career. On the opposite side, Chris Young coming in. He's won 4 of his last 5 at home, and he's 3-2, but with a less than 3 ERA, 2.8 over his last 6 starts. So kind of like the same way in Arizona, the way things worked out there, where you had 2 pitchers that came in, one playing well or poorly on the road, one playing poorly at home. They were both out in 4 innings. So here you kind of got that same thing here, you've got a warming up pitcher for Seattle and Bauer, who's still looking to get off the schneid on the road.
Yeah, and talking about Trevor Bauer and the struggles of Justin Masterson, I mean, if ever there was a time for Trevor Bauer to find it completely and put it together, I mean, I think we all hoped that when they traded for him in Arizona that he was going to come in, and if Johnny Manziel, we'd all be rooting for him to come in and be the savior. I think that was our hope and dream, and obviously it's taking longer than anybody would have hoped, but there are definitely signs there that he's growing as a pitcher and becoming better. But if ever there was a time for that guy to put it all together and really start to shine, now would be a great time for him to do that with Masterson kind of a question mark or in limbo at this time.
Absolutely. There's got to be Corey Kluber cannot be the lone man standing here. They've definitely got to get something going. And I'm looking at the rest of the matchups here this weekend. Obviously, we don't know what's going to tomorrow. Tomlin and Ronas Elias going at it, a lefty there. Of course, that's always a fun time. Man, I think this is a key series in the way you end the month. It's the middle part of the road trip. And like you said, you've got Kershaw, Lumen on the other side of this thing. So it'll be interesting to see too. Seattle playing pretty well. They're 5 games over 500 at this point, so definitely playing better and improved, and they're around 500 at home. The Indians continue to be 10 games below that on the road, so we'll see how this thing comes together, but I'm with you. I think tonight it'd be very big for Trevor Bauer, not only to get out there and do his thing, but for them to get that win here and start the weekend off on a winning note in this thing.
Yeah, I'm with you, and tonight's probably a big one for the same reasons that Kershaw. With Felix Hernandez coming tomorrow, you stand to find yourself in a situation where you had a bad 3 games against Detroit, you split in Arizona. If you lose tonight, you're looking at King Felix tomorrow, and all of a sudden it's not a bad series, it's a bad week, and that's how things start to snowball.
And that's what you're looking to avoid here, too, So, Mike, I'll tell you what, you're going to be with me Tuesday next week, so we'll get a chance to come back on the backside of this, see how they come out of Seattle, and then we'll look at the final things there with the Dodgers before they head back home.
Sounds good, my man. We can break down that USA-Belgium game, too.
You know it. By the time we get back on Tuesday, they might score another goal, man, so we will definitely talk about some soccer as well.
They will score another goal by the time I talk to you. That's
4 days from now. I would hope so, man. All right. Mike, have a good one, my man. Enjoy some Tribe baseball this weekend, and we'll talk on Tuesday.
Sounds good, my man. Thanks for having me.
All right. And you guys, of course, as always, can check them out at didthetribewinlastnight.com. We're going to take a break. Tribe didn't play last night, but they're going to win tonight. I'm calling it. Trevor Bauer going to give us a little bit of a start here, and the Indians are going to get the victory tonight. We're going to take a break. When we come back, speaking of tonight, there's a beach party at the Q. My man, Doug Plagens, going to join us next talking some Gladiators football here on the Sports Fix.
There's something kind of about a kid that's never played baseball.
Throwing you the best sports commentary in town. The Sports Fix.
I'll tell you what, whether you just started listening to the show today or you've been listening since the beginning of the Sports Fix, you know that our thing is how proud we are to be from Cleveland, to be in Cleveland, and to get the opportunity to broadcast and represent Cleveland to the world live right here on the Sports Fix each and every weekday. Well, I'll tell you what, that same sentence could just replace the word Sports Fix with our friends GV Art and Design and have the same statement, because GV Artwork, you guys have seen their stuff all over town, makers of some of the ever see, unique, original designs, fantastic. They say Cleveland that I love, and then they put it on their chest, and they put it on your chest too. Don't forget, we tell you all the time, use the sales code FIX10. Any purchase you make with gvartwork.com, you'll save 10% on your total purchase, just for letting them know that you heard about it right here on the Sports Fix. So whether you check them out, gvartwork.com, or check out the brand new store in Lakewood on Detroit Avenue, they are fantastic people with a fantastic product. Cleveland that we all can love. GV Art and Design, a statement.
It's the Sports Fix. We'll be right back.
The engines are cranking and purring, and that can only mean one thing. Bike nights are back at Harry Buffalo North Olmsted. Rev up your hogs and head on down to Harry Buffalo with $3 drinks and beers, $5 pizzas, and crazy wing specials for all bikers, all on their open patio. Woo-hoo! Hot bikes, good friends, and great times are waiting for you. 4824 Great Northern Boulevard, right outside Great Northern Mall. Monday bike nights at Harry Buffalo, the proud sponsor of the Sports Fix. Sports Fix listeners, like us on Facebook today. Facebook.com/The Sports Fix.
At the corner of Carnegie and Ontario, it's basketball time at the Q.
Finest yet, highlighting the best moments, players, and media members in Cleveland sports history. In-depth personal interviews with some of the top names in Cleveland sports fill the pages of this incredible book.
Joe Gray,
Fred McLeod, Hector Marinero.
Discussing the most intimate and sometimes controversial details of the largest moments in our town's sports history.
The Indians have won the divisional title.
A perfect game for Len Barker.
What a win for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Their first time in a playoff.
It's the first book written from the player's point of view, with the media that covered it and the fans that watched. Finally, the true stories are told, from a miracle in Richfield to the NBA Finals.
The Detroit Pistons have been booby-trapped.
From a perfect game to a World Series one pitch from victory.
The Mariners have won the World
Series.
From a Wildcat High School dynasty to the golden days of the Browns, Barons, and Crunch, this book will change the way the entire sports nation looks at Cleveland.
Cleveland, you will have an October to remember.
Cleveland's Finest by Vince McKee is this year's must-have book for every Cleveland sports fan. Available now at Amazon.com. Get your copy today. Portions of the Sports Fix brought to you by Quick Lane at Valley Ford Truck, home of the low price tire guarantee. QuickLane.com/Valley Ford Truck.
Hey everybody, this is Doug Plagens, the voice of the Lake Erie Monsters, and you're listening to the Sports Fix.
Drums, please.
Welcome back to the Sports Fix, live here on sportsfix.net, on TuneIn and Spreaker and Mixler, and on digital delay on iHeartRadio, the world's largest internet radio provider, on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and SoundCloud, CarPlay, all the podcast platforms. J-Rocc back with you here, heading into the home stretch, baby, and that was an imposter before we came back. That's not Doug Plagens. I've got Doug Plagens on the line coming up next, and it's not only summertime. We're not only about to flip that calendar over to July, but there's a beach party tonight at the Q as the playoff bound, not that you couldn't see the forest through the trees before, but officially playoff bound Cleveland Gladiators continue their season. They won some awards this week. They've got a beach party going on, and it's a good week to be a Gladiator, I would say. I'm going to go to the phone lines and talk to Doug Plagens about that. You can talk to us on Facebook and Twitter, facebook.com/thesportsfix. Tweet with us at thesportsfixCLE. I'm going to the phone, going to the beach. He's got his feet in the sand, baby. Doug Plagens, how you doing?
I am fantastic. How are you?
I'm all right, man. How's the queue looking? They got it all decked out. Is the sun shining? Is the beach ready for the party tonight?
I'll tell you what, it's going to be a fun night here tonight, and a real test for the Gladiators and just what should be a good football game. You've got the Gladiators obviously on the heels of clinching a playoff spot last week. They're coming in 12-1. They've won 3 in a row. Tampa Bay is coming in with a chance to potentially get the top spot in their division, as they're also in the playoff race, and they've won 5 games in a row. So this is going to be a real test for the Gladiators tonight, a team they haven't seen yet this season, but they will see twice in their last 5 games. They end the season against the Tampa Bay Storm as well, and that's at the end of July. So a couple meetings against Tampa Bay. First one tonight, as you said, beach party tonight. The weather's great outside, and should just be a festive atmosphere inside the Q tonight as well.
All right, we will get to tonight. We'll talk about it. We got last week to talk about. Before that, you've been busy Beaver this week. I mean, you're also, of course, the Monsters play-by-play man, and you've been hanging out at the AHL had their meetings here this week.
Yep, the AHL had the annual marketing meeting, so it was a lot of front office members from all 30 teams and the league office getting together and sharing just a lot of what worked, what didn't work, as far as the business side and the sales side, the communications side, everything like that over the last season, and it's really just a fun time for everybody. You get to go out there, and there are a lot of people over the course of a season that you might email that you haven't met in person, so you get to put a lot of names with faces. For me, because I travel around all the other buildings, I get to see some people that I haven't seen in a few months. Get to see a good number of the other broadcasters around the league. So it's always a good time, and you definitely leave there not only picking up some good tidbits, some good ideas to use for the next season, but it also gets you back into that hockey frame of mind, because what a lot of people forget is that hockey seems to have the shortest off season of any sport. I mean, the Stanley Cup was just decided. The Stanley Cup and the Calder Cup were just decided in the last couple of weeks ago, and mid-September teams are going to start having their prospect camps and then their full training camps, and then the preseason kicks up. The awards just happened last week. Free agency is coming up. Draft this weekend. So it's while it is still the thick of arena football season, that new hockey season is going to be here before we know it. So from a business standpoint and just seeing some old friends, it's always fun to get out to the league meetings every year. They're in Springfield, Massachusetts this season or this year, where the league offices are located.
Now, I can't lie. When we talk about going to the AHL league meetings, it popped in my head when you texted me the other day, and this is said in totally the good way because it's one of my favorite movies. I see that scene in Semi-Pro with all the owners sitting around the table. I don't know why, man. That's one of my favorite movies. I love Will Ferrell in that movie.
Well, Jackie Moon was not in attendance.
Jackie Moon, baby. But I don't know, man. I flashed back to that when you sent that to me. I'm like, yep, Doug Plagens around the table doing anyways. But that's cool. And by the way, if you're talking to the marketing people, if the J-Rocc bobblehead, I told you guys to take your time with that. But I mean, I'm telling you, pop the house, man. It's guaranteed sellout down at the Q. I hope you stressed that to the marketing people down there. I know you did.
Well, there's a lot of attention to detail being placed on that. It's not anything you want to rush.
You're right. You're right. You know what? And I can appreciate that. I really can. And we'll work on that. But anyways, all joking aside, get back to football. Last week, Gladiators, not only have they, as I said, I mean, it was coming anyway with the season that they've had, but they locked themselves up a playoff spots. They won a few awards this week as they once again rolled on last week. Talk a little bit about that.
So the Gladiators last week had another one of these miracle finishes that we're starting to get very used to. It was clinching a playoff spot in dramatic fashion against a division rival and a team that they've now beaten twice this season, which happens to be the Philadelphia Soul, who've gone to the Arena Bowl each of the last 2 years out of the American Conference. So heck of a way to do it, and they really put Philadelphia behind the eight ball as far as the playoff race is concerned. That team doesn't have much margin for error the rest of the way, and there are still some people who may say that man for man, as far as track record goes, for a lot of those players, that might be the most proven and talented team in the Arena Football League, or at least maybe in the American Conference, just based on, like I said, the success that core group of players has had over the last 2 years, getting to back-to-back Arena Bowls. And it's still a situation where until they don't go to the Arena Bowl, that's the team in the conference you've got to knock off. But the Gladiators have done their part. They've knocked them off twice this season, both times in very dramatic fashion, and this time, I mean, it's a situation where you've got a Gladiators team, and again, I can't hit this home enough, but if you haven't seen the Gladiators play firsthand this season, you want to come out and see these guys because they're playing very good football, and they're playing very entertaining football, and it's a team that just doesn't quit, that doesn't get deflated, doesn't give up on itself. I mean, this team has this mindset that they're just never out of a game. You went into the final couple of minutes of that game, and the Gladiators were down 12, and then with 2 seconds left, Philadelphia scores a touchdown, and they went up 68-63. So it's a 5-point game on Saturday night with 2 seconds left in the game, and now maybe a questionable decision on the part of Philadelphia. They kick the ball off long. It goes straight through the center part of the netting and out of play, which allowed the Gladiators to have one more play because the clock didn't start. And if I'm calling that, I'm telling my kicker, put it right in the middle of the field at about the 20-yard line to force somebody to touch that football. But they didn't do that. They kicked it long, it went on a play, and the Gladiators ended up with one play to run. And, I'm sitting there in the broadcast booth thinking, in a lot of situations, I would consider this team to be, down and out right now, but not this team and what they've gone through this season and the victories they've had. One play a lot of times is all this Gladiators team needs to beat you. As long as it's within 6 points, they can make that one play count. And sure enough, with Philadelphia in a prevent defense, they started that play with their 3 defensive backs, probably all the way back around their own 15-yard line. Keep in mind the Gladiators took over at the 3, so they had to go 47 yards on one play. And Shane Austin, from his own end zone, Tecmo Bowl style, heaved it from one end zone to the other. And that one was batted around, landed right on the numbers of Dominic Goodman at about the 1 yard line, and he just trotted it into the end zone for the for the Gladiators to get the lead. Now, it wasn't an automatic winner because in the Arena Football League, if you botch the extra point, or if the extra point's blocked or you fumble on the exchange or something like that, it can be taken back the other way for 2 points. So theoretically, because it was a 1-point ball game, you had to run the point after. Wisely, the Gladiators quarterback Shane Austin just took a knee on the play to minimize any chance of anything going wrong. But again, it was a heck of a play, and just when you think you've seen it all with this team, something like that happens, and we're getting to the point now, and we'll tease this a little bit. Next week we're going to have a little feature on the Gladiators website, just kind of ranking, if you will, the last-second victories that the Gladiators have had this season. And keep in mind, they've had 3 games they've won on last-second touchdowns. They had another one they won on a last-second field goal, and they've had some other pretty outstanding comebacks as well. That one the other night, you could say that might be the best one they've had, just based on how far they had to go with that, 47 yards in one play. The last time they played Philadelphia, they were down 52-35 going into the final minute, scored 3 touchdowns, recovered 2 onside kicks, just like they drew it up, I'm sure, and won the game 54-52.
Just like they drew it up.
At the end of the day, they're just finding ways to win, and as the old cliche goes, that's what the best teams do, regardless of circumstances. It doesn't always have to be a beauty contest. You find a way to win the ball game.
No, that's it, man. And last week, you're right, and I would say that would probably have to be up there too, because I mean, really, just kick the ball in play, make it hit somebody, bounce off somebody, and you're right.
You kick it right at a guy, kick it right at somebody's chest, and that thing's got to be returned.
And then boom, and you give them the not untimed, but where the clock's not running, and then there you go, man. So great stuff, man. But yeah, you got to think that one definitely a miss. I don't know what, just a missed thought. And it's easy to hindsight and outside criticize. I guess when you're in the battle and say, well, I would have done this, but clearly one that they should have and probably knew the way the last 2 seconds were going to play out on that game.
And what they might have been thinking, and maybe the kicker botched it, because if you put it in that center part of the netting, the ball gets hung up in there. Most of the time it falls out of play, or if it just gets hung up at all, the officials blow it dead, and the ball comes out to that backup area at about the 3-yard line. If the kicker puts it off either of the side panels of the netting, that thing has to be returned, because it's going to take a roll right down to the return man.
Yeah.
And maybe what Philadelphia is thinking there is, Dominic Jones, who he was out last week, and he's been the Gladiators' return man all season, and he's one of the best in the league at that. Returns at about a 20-yard per return average, and he wasn't out there. So the Gladiators had Christian Wise playing his first game for the team this season as the return man, and he did a good job, but he wasn't Dominic Jones, who's known around the league to be an extraordinaire in that department. So maybe they're thinking, if this is Dominic Jones, we're putting the ball in play, but because this isn't Dominic Jones, we're going to kick this thing long. The ball just happened to get hung up in that center netting, and it went into the front row, which allowed the Gladiators to have one play from the line of scrimmage, and that's all they needed.
I'll tell you, like you said, the end result matters. They say, what's the old expression? Better to be lucky than good. It's even better when you're lucky and good. Those are usually where the best seasons come from, and clearly the Gladiators are seeing both of that here, and it continues to roll on. 2 hot teams, like you said, when they meet tonight, you've got the Gladiators, who are 12-1, as we've talked about, and Tampa Bay. They've won 5 straight rolling into this thing, and like you said, they meet again before this season's over. You got the beach party going on. They got some more deflated balls they're giving out, too. Is it deflated beach ball night tonight? I always get a kick out of the disclaimer that they have to put in today's society, but beach balls given out tonight. Of course, all the normal Friday night fun that goes on down there, too. 7 p.m. is kickoff, right?
Yep, 7 p.m. And I mean, the other way to look at that is, if we brought 2,500 fully inflated beach balls here, it would be a lot more difficult to ship and transport that.
Well, I'm just getting a kick out of that, like with the soccer balls, legally you have to nowadays. You have to, but you're right. Could you imagine being the guy that had to, hey, man, you're in charge of blowing up 2,500 beach balls. Here, go. Intern, that's your job this week. It's beach ball week, That's a Jackie Moon move right there. Having somebody blowing up all the beach balls there, We don't even got corn dogs, man. But anyways, my man, Doug Plagens, 7 p.m. is the time tonight, and the Gladiators in the Storm. You and I will catch up next week and talk about that and all of that. And I know, hey, probably just being in the building and excitement kind of buzzing. Of course, Cavs coming off the draft last night and everything, so probably a real buzz in the queue today between the Glads game and the Cavaliers and all of that.
We've talked about it for months, but, it's been a very exciting time to be a sports fan over these last couple of months, especially right here in downtown Cleveland. And tonight's football game certainly will be just a big part of that. we got two good football teams going head-to-head tonight. And there was a time several weeks back, again, before Tampa Bay went on this 5-game win streak. They're 8-6, so, they were 3-6 at one point. And there was a time where you're looking ahead at the Gladiators schedule. Now, the players and coaches don't do that, but as a broadcaster and as media, you look at the upcoming schedule, and you might think after that Philly game, the Gladiators are kind of in the clear. But now, the way Tampa Bay's come on, they've got 2 really tough games over the last 5 between, against the Tampa Bay Storm. One tonight, one to close out the regular season down there at the Tampa Bay Times Forum. So, a lot on the line here tonight. It's a playoff type matchup, but it could be a playoff matchup between these two teams. So just a big football game here tonight. Beach party, beach balls giveaway, 7:00 kickoff. Hope we can see everybody there.
For sure. And real quick, you mentioned it earlier, just you and I haven't talked since it wrapped up, but the Western Conference, the Texas Stars come out on top of the Calder Cup there, and just goes to show we talked about them all season long, and they went in, took care of business in 5 games there with the Ice Caps.
And they had to win a lot beyond regulation time. They actually won the clincher in overtime, but that was a series in which there was a lot of close games. It was decided in 5 games, but it was a closer series than that, and the St. John's Ice Caps gave them a run. But for Texas to do what they did this season, especially at the AHL level, it's hard to be the best team essentially from the opening puck drop of the season to the end of the Calder Cup Finals. With how much rosters change, and you always hear it's not the roster that you have in October and November; it's the roster that you have in March and April that's going to help you in the playoffs. And Texas had they had a good core of guys that had experience. They relied on their horses down the stretch. Their best players were their best players when they had to be, and that team just was a very complete hockey team. They showed it, and again, hats off to them, because we saw the Texas Stars late in the season firsthand, and I can honestly say that was the best team that the Lake Erie Monsters had played all season, and they played some very good teams, but they were very good, and just, again, it might actually be easier at the major league level to be the best team from start to finish than it is at the minor league level, because in the AHL, your roster, you're not fully in control of it. Right. It over the course of the year can change, and injuries at other levels can cause your roster to be greatly altered over the course of a season. So for Texas to adjust to all that on the fly and again stay the best team from start to finish, that is an incredible feat, not something that happens all the time.
Yeah, they pretty much went wire to wire, man. Finished the regular season with the most points and then went through the playoffs there, and that's definitely an accomplishment. You're right, and the rosters being in flux the way they are and being out of the club's control just adds to that. So hats off to them. And see, just talking a little bit, already got me. I'm ready for Monsters to drop tomorrow, man. Already, let's get back to it. So, but the Gladiators got to finish before the Monsters can take back over at the Q. So hopefully they can keep the good vibes going tonight. Good vibrations. Beach Boys beach party tonight. Tampa Bay at the Q. Gladiators tonight, 7 p.m. Doug will have the call on the radio as well as always, and then we'll talk about it next week. My man, thank you so much for taking a few minutes on game day. I know it's tough for joining us here, and then I look forward to catching up with you, talking some more Gladiators next week.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
As always, thank you so much. My man, Doug Plagens, the voice of not only the Cleveland Gladiators, but the Lake Erie Monsters as well. He'll be calling the action from the Q tonight, 7 p.m. kickoff. Get down there and join the beach party. It'll be a good time. Get your deflated beach ball, inflate it, and make it a beach party at the Q. They had a draft party last night, beach party tonight. Who knows, man? Good times being had in Cleveland. Who knows? Maybe we get to have some good times a little more often around here. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Feeling good on a Friday, hitting the final break, coming back, wrapping things up with open phone lines. 216-539-7535. 216-539-7535. If you want to get in now, Daddy. Pick up the phone. Give us a call. When we come back, wrap things up for the day and the week here on the Sports Fix. Let's get wild, wild, wild. Let it rock.
And now, a very special announcement from the Sports Fix. Black bears weigh between 200 and 500 pounds. Brown bears weigh between 300 and over 1,000 pounds. Black bears run away from you. Brown bears run at you. When attacked by a bear, simply lie still on the ground and cover your face and head with your hands. When the bear is finished batting you around and mauling you, contact the U.S. Forest Service.
And that was a message from the Sports Fix.
Guys, want to take just a second as we head into this break and remind you about the official business printing source of the Sports Fix, our friends at Signs and Ship. Signs and Ship, I'm telling you, Chris and Pam, they've taken care of me since day one, and they can do the same for you. Whether you're a small business that's already been established and you're looking to grow to that next level and expand your business, or perhaps you've got an idea that you just know is going to be a great business and you need to figure out how to brand it and how to promote it and put it out there, Signs and Ship is the place for you. If you need a logo, they can create one for you. They have a fantastic graphic designer. Business cards, signs, banners, yard signs, mobile advertising, anything you can think of that you need to promote your business, they've got it at Signs and Ship. The best thing about them, too, is each of their locations, whether it's the home base here in Elyria, Ohio that I work with, or their spots in Virginia, Florida, and Pennsylvania, it's all local sourced. Very important to me because we all understand that small business is the lifeblood of the community. So check them out, signsandship.com, or call Chris and Pam today, 440-323-6060, the home office in Elyria, Ohio. Signs and Ship, quality printing at affordable prices.
It's an addiction. The Sports Fix. We'll be right back.
No football? No problem at Harry Buffalo North Olmsted. The excitement never stops. Every day of the week brings a different set of food and amazing drink specials.
And now,
fans, Harry Buffalo North Olmsted is the home for every UFC pay-per-view live on the big screens.
Let's get it all!
And let's not forget their mouth-watering trademark, the Bison Burger.
They sure are good.
Nobody does bison like Harry Buffalo. The perfect combination of healthy and delicious.
Hey there, eat up, y'all. You's as good church-going folk. Y'all deserve a little treat.
What are you waiting for? Get to Harry Buffalo, just outside Great Northern Mall today. Harry Buffalo. Join the herd.
I've been a pro wrestler my whole life, so championship belts have always kind of been a way of life to me. But did you know title belts are quickly becoming the fastest rising and the most popular new way for people to celebrate all kinds of things you never would have thought of before? We use it for our fantasy football league. It's a really cool conversation piece. Office pools, employee of the month, you name it. There's tons of different trophies that you used to buy plaques for. Well, I'm here to tell you about Pro-Am Championship belts, who have the highest quality championship belt with the lowest prices. Replace those old trophies with stock belts on hand that they can customize for as low as $30. Any occasion, celebrations, awards, championships, fantasy leagues, gifts, plus wrestling, mixed martial arts, boxing. If you need championship belts, check them out. Pro-Am Championship Belts, ProAmBelts.com. Look them up on Facebook, Pro-Am Belts. Trust me, nothing says cool like doing the discount double check with a real championship belt. Just ask Aaron Rodgers. Now you too can have one thanks to Pro-Am Championship Belts.
Hi, this is Dean Chenoth, head coach of Cleveland's Lake Erie Monsters, and you're listening to the Sports Fix.
Welcome back to the Sports Fix. I can't lie. Ever since I kind of made that the final music break, music bed coming in at Fridays on the show, working for the weekend, little lover play there. It kind of every time I hear it, it's almost like my work bells ringing for the week. Actually, it's not. I've got a few hours of wrap up stuff to finish up on Fridays for the week, but it's close enough. When I hear that, I go, man, I can let my brain go on standby for a minute because, it's fun, but there's a lot of things to focus on at one time and the phones, the social media, all of this, making sure everything's working right and getting everybody in and out, the guests. And by the way, thanks to you guys who joined us today. Jonathan Knight, the sportswriter extraordinaire, Doug Plagens, who you just heard from the Gladiators, Mike Brandenberry from DidTheTribeWinLastNight.com for joining us, being the conductor of the madness, as you will. But so that's kind of like my work was for the weekend too, is it's like, man, all right, the break can go on neutral for at least a few hours before we start getting ready for next week, and it does. Next week, man, I may be a cranky son of a gun at points next week because the LeBron barrage is coming. I hope you guys are ready, and I don't mean in Cleveland sport. I mean in the world. The LeBron barrage of media is coming next week. You think you've seen it hits its crescendo when it starts with this whole free agency week. The first week is the worst week because nobody can do anything. So it's all of that. It's all of the conjecture and speculation at a fever pitch. Oh, man, yeah, like I said, I'm probably going to be cranky at some points next week. It'll be fun. We'll see what happens. Hey, we're going to see what the Cavaliers go as we see where they went with the draft last night, taking Andrew Wiggins and Harris, and we'll talk more about that next week. I'll go into next week and into free agency, how that's going to affect things. It'll be interesting. I told you guys, I like Joe Harris. You know, Wiggins, I think Wiggins is definitely going to contribute. How much, I don't know. It's going to be fun watching Wiggins and Parker kind of develop over the first, not just the people, let's see what they do in November. Over the next, 3 years is what I'm talking about. I'm very interested to see them. And plus, it's always, a foolish person who just instantly drafts or rates a draft right afterwards. I mean, you need years to see how this thing plays out and to see how it shakes out if you redraft it a year from now and all of that. But Cavaliers stuck to their guns as far as taking a guy and not making a trade. And then I'll tell you what, dude, the Alonzo Gee deal, a little bit of a head scratcher to me. I've always dug Alonzo Gee. He plays defense. And he's kind of a do-everything guy for a coach. I thought that, even with falling out of favor a bit, I think with Mike Brown there last year that we saw, a new start here. But the trade to pick up the draft pick at 45 that Charlotte made to, who has some, some athleticism as I see, but, they also got Brendan Haywood in the deal, although I hear he may not even be a part of the kid. That may be like a salary deal or something like that. But regardless, I was a little bit surprised by that move. It may be the front end of something else, I think, coming. So we'll see as they're trying to clear room and everybody's maneuvering and all of that. Listen, we'll talk back into my thing. I'm going to go to your thing. I'm going to go to the phones. I've got a caller here. 216-539-7535 is your chance to get in this final segment here. Like my next caller up on the Sports Fix. Caller, what's happening?
Hey, good morning, J-Rocc.
Good morning, afternoon, good evening, good night, all of the above, baby, depending on what time it is where you're at. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. Hey, I have the perfect scenario for the Cavs and LeBron. Okay?
You're not even going to give me the weekend. I don't even get until Monday. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
No.
Go ahead.
This has to be done kind of right away. Okay.
Hey, it's all yours.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. Picture this. Let me set the scenario for you. The Plain Dealer runs this big ad where the Cavs and LeBron come to an agreement. So Bud Shaw and Pluto put this thing out where the decision will be held at the Q. Okay? Big headlines. Dead president headlines.
Okay.
Free admission. All you got to do is show up. If you want LeBron back, this is your chance, Okay. The date would be July 9th, which is the 4-year anniversary of the Decision 1. Okay. The queue is packed.
Okay.
24,000 people, music playing in the background, blaring, LeBron's voice saying not 1, not 2, not 3. Everybody's all set up. The cheerleaders are there. The Cavs dance team. Table set up. He sits down, and the contract's laying in front of him. All he has to do is sign it. He grabs the pen. He signs his name, LeBron James. Hey, I'm a Cavalier. Here comes the Cavs owner. He walks out. He sits down. He shakes LeBron's hand. Sits down next to him. Grabs a pen. And with the music playing, we are the champions, and the whole scenario, fireworks going off, place lights flashing, and he tears up the contract. He said, hey, you screwed me once, you're not going to screw me again. And everybody is like, totally in awe. That would be the perfect scenario for this. The fans would be happy that we almost had LeBron, and everybody else would be happy that he's going somewhere else.
There you go. I don't know, man. Listen, man. I mean, I'm with you there. That's cool. That's a funny little imaginary scenario. In all joking aside, when he actually makes his decision, it's the one place where, and that is a good one. It is the one place where I think it'll be a short press. It'll be a press release. He won't make a big deal out of the actual decision, but the whole week-long march up to it is going to be a whole bunch of BS, man. This is going to get really ridiculous.
No doubt. This is already a Manziel circus.
It's going to be worse. I mean, every day it's going to be, the Bulls had, an edible arrangement delivered to LeBron's, gym while he was working out, and then he walked out to the car, and somebody tied balloons to it that said, "Please come play, LeBron." It's going to be great. Next week is going to be such a boondoggle. But
now they're doing the same thing with Carmelo. He's wanting to go to Chicago.
But that's the thing.
And now he wants to play with LeBron.
But that's the new thing, and LeBron really kind of kicked that off with the decision is, here I am, show me, come. And I'm not saying this the wrong way, because yes, when you're a talented player with options, then obviously you want to go to a good situation. But what these guys are doing is the equivalent of cities. Show me your riches, and I will decide where I will come bring my kingdom, and that something about that just kind of, I don't know. But anyways,
but didn't LeBron do that in the first place with the big three? They all went to different cities, and
yes, that's what I'm saying. And that kind of really ushered in the era of this new, we're going to take control of our career. And hey, whatever, man. It is what it is, and I can't change it, neither can you. But I don't like it, and I do think that it definitely bothers a lot of fans, that entitlementness of that. You know what I mean? But whatever. What do you think, Real? While I got you on the phone, we're talking about it, though. Forget about LeBron. What do you think about the Cavs draft last night? And by the way, Dwight Powell is the name of the player. I couldn't think of it when I was telling you. The 45th pick that was taken there in the draft that was given to the in the Alonzo Gee trade that we were talking about. And I'll tell you what, a lot of reports. He's nearly 7 foot tall, very skilled, not considered to be the toughest guy. One of the comparisons I saw of him was a poor man's Josh McRoberts. So, again, maybe a piece that doesn't even become a Cavalier this season. Powell, maybe not. Even Brendan Haywood. Those may be pieces of something that they put together next week when they get to trying to maneuver cap space and make trades and sign free agents and all of that stuff. But what do you think's the guy they took in the second round? I really do believe that I don't know how good he's going to be, but I believe that his skill set is dead on what the Cavaliers want and what he's going to get the shot to play. I mean, shooting off of screens and hitting those threes are big things in this offense that they're going to try to put together.
Right. I have looked at some Harris videos this morning, and the three-point shot, he's pretty impressive. And that's what the Cavs were lacking last year was, somebody that could make threes consistently.
But you know what, though? Let me just mention another thing about Harris. He's athletic, too. He's got a standing vertical of nearly 30 inches. So that's not bad at all. And, he's 6'6". He's got the wingspan, right. His reach is 8'4". I mean, he's definitely got some length. I don't know defensively. I'm not sure what he's going to be able to do, because some people say he doesn't have a good lateral step and he's going to have trouble keeping up with some guys defensively. Offensively, he's definitely considered two things: a very good shooter, or actually I've seen even higher compliments than that, but he's considered a very smart basketball player. And I know that that's something that the Cavaliers need to add, is some basketball IQ, I guess is the term I'm looking for. Some guys that just have instincts, and I think that they can be a smarter, not more athletic, not just that, but a smarter basketball team. So I'm not trying to heap this much praise on Joe Harris. I think he's going to fit really well with this style. And
it's funny that you mentioned, because none of the video shows defense. It all shows, Harris playing offense.
He's not a big defender. He can defend, but at the NBA level, he's going to have trouble with some of the faster guys. No doubt, he's not going to be able to defend everybody. But I don't think he's, I don't think that's what you look for right off the bat in a guy like this. He's being brought here to space the floor and run off screens and get some shots and facilitate that way in the offense. I think that's going to obviously be his kind of primary role early on.
And people were, talking Wiggins and Parker. I personally felt that, Wiggins was the best player available.
I mean, and that's not nothing against Parker. Like I said all along, I think the biggest thing that scared me about Parker was the kind of the weight thing. And I get it. I mean, maybe we were a little gun shy having just gone through a guy who came in out of shape with Anthony Bennett and taking him with the number 1 pick, because I think Parker's going to be a good look. People have been saying that kid is going to be an NBA player and a good NBA player for years. So I have no doubt that Jabari Parker is going to be good, and so that's going to be interesting 3 years from now to look back and see who really was the true number 1 pick in this draft. But I do like the athleticism of Wiggins now. But hey, there's tons of guys that wash out in the NBA that are great athletes that can jump through the roof of the gym. So we'll have to see how he does. I think that if he learns how to defend and use his... That's the thing that worries me, though, is I think we're heading into an era with this regime where defense isn't going to mean a whole lot, because these guys are all about they'll just outscore you. Instead of keeping you under 100, they'll just try to score 115. And I think that's the next era that we're about to reach in Cavs basketball, where we play a much more of that old Western Conference Denver Nuggets style, where instead of playing defense...
West Coast...
Yeah, we're playing that. Yeah, we're just trying to win a bunch of 130 to 125 games,
No, that can't be a bad thing as long as you come out on the winning end.
Yes, but in the playoffs, it does matter, because all those teams that are those hot shot offensive teams, when you get down to playoff time, they seem to bog down quite a bit. They
run out of gas.
Unless
you're like the Spurs.
Defense wins championships.
Who seem to be getting stronger as they were going along.
I agree that the Cavs need better offense, but I think that they cannot, maybe they won't, but I worry that with 2 offensive-minded people kind of running this thing, that you start to gear offensively too much and you get away from the defense, which, okay, maybe Mike Brown was the opposite. He was obviously too much focused on the defense, but there's got to be a happy medium there, but I don't think there is. I just think in today's NBA, the good defensive teams are rare. They're going to be rare. You're going to have 25 teams that play average to crappy defense, and you'll have 4 or 5 or 6 teams a season that play that good team defense. It's just going to be a lost art, like the art of the free throw. Playing defense is going to be optional in the new NBA. It's just the way it is.
Well, as long as it doesn't turn into the Byron Scott era again, where you played very weak offense and no defense at all.
Well, that's different there. Now you're just getting run over when you can't not play defense and not have offense either. So we'll see, man.
Right. Well, okay, J-Rocc, that's all I have. Enjoy your weekend.
No Indians take from Bruce. I'm amazed.
No.
All right, my man.
They're on the West Coast, and let's hope they win tonight. But let's just do it one game at a time and get back home. So
yeah, let's see what happens with Seattle this weekend. Bruce, always great for the phone call. I appreciate it, my man.
All righty. Thank you, J-Rocc.
All right, no problem. Thank you. Thank you guys all week. We've gotten a ton of calls and interaction this week on the Facebook, on the Twitter. I say it all the time, guys. This is not my show. This is our show. This is your show. And really this week it's cool. Heard from some new callers this week and of course a lot of the regulars. Guys, next week I'm challenging you to challenge me on the phones. Get on the phones next week and let's pick it up. Let's double the number of phone calls we got this week, because that's what really leads to that great discourse, that great conversation. And you know what? Looking ahead here, as we said, Monday, the week of Kings, and I don't just mean LeBron. Next week in the NBA, it's free agent whining and dining week. Let's see, the Tuesday is when things kick off, July 1st. So we'll have all of that Monday. John McMullen from the Sports Network. He'll be here. We'll talk some NFL latest with him from over the weekend. Dan Wismar from the Cleveland Fan with us as well. We'll look at the weekend here, Indians and Seattle. It starts tonight, 10:10. Trevor Bauer on the mound for the first pitch for the Indians. We'll talk about that. We'll be on the verge of the next U.S. Cup as they're in the elimination round now. Got out of the group of death, and we'll talk about that next week. Set the stage for everything. Hey, man, we got a whole new week, and we will wrap up the month of June, all coming on Monday. So, guys, hey, this weekend, other World Cup action going on. If that's your gig, enjoy it like Mike Brandenberry. Enjoy some late-night Tribe baseball next couple of days, and they've got Sunday as well. Enjoy the Seattle series. Guys, whatever you do, I say it all the time. You know what's coming. I don't even have to do it. I should just, it's ESP. I should just say goodbye. You guys know the rest of it. You guys come back on Monday and tell me all about it. As we always do, have a great time. Enjoy it. And be here live, noon, same bat time, same bat channel here on the Sports Fix. We love you, Cleveland. We will see you Monday. Go Tribe. Go Gladiators. Go Cleveland. We'll see you Monday live right here on the Sports Fix.
Never had a beach, yeah. City of the hard knocks. Let one of us make it out the city, bet we all rock. Coming out the east side, where they do not play much. Clouds always looming, we don't see the sun rays much. Still about the paper, gotta make sure the lights on. Just a mistake on the lake to you, but this is my own. Tatted it on my arm, that I represent that. Homie, I'm from Cleveland, I will tell the president that. Hardest, yeah, we been there. Made some of the greats here. Midwest best, this is MGK's, yeah. Shouts out to St. Clair, uptown. Yes, y'all heading to the flats, get it popping up with step flaws. Old state monster. We are not the empire, but this is where the kings play. Cleveland.